Welcome to the Burp Suite Community Edition. In this lesson, we are going to have some of the best testing methodologies that can be useful and beneficial for the bug hunters and the penetration testers at the same time. So what we do, exactly what happens when we go for testing and what we look for, which kind of information will be beneficial, is the crucial phase where you should look that what you want to and where you are going to test for, meaning that which area you want to test for that might be affected for some of the vulnerabilities, so that you can save your time even when you are going to test in a web application security testing, or if you are hunting for the web applications insecurities as a bug hunter. So let's start how it actually happens. Open up the Burp Suite. As usual, open up the browser or simply open your favorite browser that is configured or start configuration. In this case, I am going to use this already configured, and the site I am going to use is this time the site will be vulnweb.com, and this one is the equat, the test PHP vulnweb.com. So this is intentionally vulnerable website, meaning that you can say this is the yet another lab. And let's start searching for, so this has been captured. Now let me search for some of the strings, or before going to search for what we are going to look for, how exactly you want to. Going to proxy options, you might also be setting some of your responses, or how the request and responses will be passed and how you are going to test for. So some of the cases, miscellaneous options can also be changed. Enable disable form fields. So this is also the option that you are going to look for. Remove object tags, convert HTTPS to non-HTTPS, and these options can be configured highly depending upon the nature of the work you are going to. Once again, moving back to the user option, that will also be the beneficial at the same time that you are required to configure the same. So moving back to the miscellaneous, and here we can see what exactly you want once the Burp Suite is started. So as we can see, the proxy interception here is always on whenever we start the Burp Suite. We can also disable it, always disable, or restore from the last one that you have used, meaning that you have, if you have left interception off, it will be off when you start next time, and if you have kept on last time, then it will be on if you restart once again. This is as simple as that. It depends upon the nature of what you are going to work and what your intention in this case for web applications testing. Proxy history logging, that is also the beneficial to filter out every unwanted URLs and every unwanted target sites. That is not exactly the target, but that might be unwanted. So what happens in this case, when items are added to a scope, what you can do is stop sending out of the scope items to proxy history. So here it is, proxy and the HTTP history. So all these are the unwanted items that I don't want exactly on to look for. So the page that I want to look for and to test for is this one, that is the test PHP. And what you can do is just simple right click and add to a scope, and yes. All right, now moving back to user options, we can see stop sending out of scope items to proxy history and other burp tools. So this will stop sending out of scope items, or simply say unwanted URLs or items. Or that is the default option, that is the prompt for action. It will ask you what to do. So whenever you put add to a scope, it will ask you what to do. We can also select for do nothing. Alright, that's all for. We can also set the hotkeys depending upon the variable you are going to use and what the keywords or the hotkeys you are familiar with, or the shortcuts. So these two options are actually available to test for. Now move back to the other options like the comparer and decoder. Comparer is similar to the compare sitemaps, as we have already seen, comparing two sitemaps and highlighting modifications, deletions and additions of any data that might be. So this is simple. It actually compare two data sets. So the first item is here, second item is here. We can send from any other tools. Decoder is the most valuable part here, most valuable tool in the Burp Suite that is available in all of the versions, and it provides maximum decoding and encoding of all of the functions that it supports as of now, like the plaintext, URL encoding, HTML, base64 encoding, ASCII, hex, octal, binary and ggib. So these are the decoding. Encoding will also be the same, and it also highlights in a number of colors for each of the decoding and encoding in schemes. We can select text or the hexadecimal values. So let's see how it actually works. Going to Proxy, send this to decoder, and we have seen here all of the informations are there, but this time there is nothing to decode. So we might be interested in encoding as well. So encode this first, base64. So these informations, that is the first one, first pane, have been encoded to this base64 value. Now if I am going to decode it, so plain text already, so it was actually base64, so decoding will also be the base64. So base64 decoding, then now there is no difference between this one and this one. There is also a smart decode option that decodes automatically and that all recursively on all of the encoded part, so that it will automatically do work on. So this is best way to decode it manually in this case. So that will be also. We can also create a hash like that. We can create any hashed items for any part of the applications or the request you are going to send for. And here we can see a large number of hashed or hash is available inside this one. We can also select for MD5 to SHA-1 to SHA-384, and there are Harakov 256 too. But for the decoder option, there is the base part that you want to do. So in case going to target proxy history, and here we can see whenever you select any part, like if I am selecting for this accept language, and I am going to select this, and when I right click, we will see a new option that is convert selection. That is the best thing I like about the most. And this is for URL encoding, URL decoding, encoding key characters, all characters and the Unicode. HTML is also there, base64 is also there, and the best part is the construction of the string that construct the strings for MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server and the JavaScript. So let's convert some of the in the MySQL in this case here. So here we can see all of the characters have been converted to the concatenation, or we can see the construct string has been done. So if I'm going to send this to a repeater, and now if I'm going to convert this to MySQL, it will be converted, and now we can send it from here. So this will be the option that you can directly use the decoder or encoder options in generally from any of the windows. Just select the part and any of the part and right click there, and you can encode decode of URL or all of the encoding decoding it supports for. Alright, so let's move to now we are just stuck to the decoder and comparer, and nothing to do with this. Now start cross-site scripting attack in general and in real world, that how it actually happens if you're going to test for insecurities. Alright, so move to proxy, and here we can say here was the option there was test php.vulnweb. Let me capture some of the request. So hello and I'm going to capture this. Alright, so this has been captured, but this is not captured using the intercept. This is off, but it will still be in the HTTP history because every item you do will be still in HTTP history. So moving to here, we can see this is the test query and the searched for hello world. And now I am going to send this to intruder. Going to intruder and going to positions. Alright, let me clear this all. And the test is query and the searched for. So I'm going to first this part, that is the hello world, using the sniper item attack type, and put the payload as a runtime file. This is all I'm going to done in a how hunting is done. So I'm not going to explain anything or elaborate, as we have already discussed in all of the lessons. And now I'm going to use the XSS payload. Open it up. In this lesson I'm going to show you something that is best part that you or some of the new bug hunters will be not able to identify, because it depends upon the usage, that how many times you have used. So start the attack. Alright, so now it has been started. Now from the length, without using any grep match or grep extract, we can also identify for somewhat limit that it has been successful request or not. You can see the length. Every length is different from each one, or some length matches with each other. So here we can see this length is the smaller in size. So we can see or go for something that if there is something fishy or not, because it reveals some of the informations. This is because of why it is different from other lengths. So going to response, see render, and we can see this is the warning that the MySQL connect, and it says that it is vulnerable for SQL injection or the SQL injection. This actually was the payload for the cross-site scripting, but as this all of the part contains some of the strings that is also valuable for the MySQL databases, that is the reason why it is throwing the error for the MySQL connect. Now move back to and show you something that might be useful, but you will not see the results. In some of the cases it happens. Alright, let me move to the cross-site scripting attacks. Here you can see there is nothing we have found. Let's move to target site. Just show response in the browser. And they see it is popped up, but this is not shown in the render tab, or there is no indications of if it is successful or not. This is what we are required to know. In most of the cases you need to follow up something or verify that directly going to the target site if your payload has been executed successfully or not. Because similarly we can see here it has been not showing anything else like the pop-ups or whatever, because sometimes what happens exactly, your payloads actually loads or executed, but it is still in the fly. That is the reason it is not in the render tab. But by moving to the direct options, we can see if it is actually works. Or in that situations, we are required to use the grep match and the grep extract from the options. At that time, it will be more valuable. And it happens a lot more time when you are going to test for. Similarly, I'm going to show you in the next demonstration, like if I'm going to use the target that will be deferred from. So if I'm going to use the target, let me and move to the guest book. This is also the same issues might happen because it also text for the input. So I'm going to input for core cross-site scripting and send this. This is supposed to get a message from the visitors of the site. Move back here, we can see this is the post request. This is also to mention for the new bug hunters that is going to, because this was the form that we have filled, it is the post request. And sometimes it is also differed from the other request, but in most of the cases we are going to have the post request. So here was the message that I added, cross-site scripting. Now what I will do is send this to intruder, and now clear this. Now this was the part that I wanted to put our payloads. So here are the options, just add this, and we can see the name is anonymous user and the text is this one. Move to payload. Payload will be same, that is the runtime. Select that, XSS payloads, open it up, start the attack. Go to response, render. We are not having any pop-up alerts, but in this case I'm going to show you something else, that is the link one. As this payload, focus to this payload, that is the href, that creates a link and hyperlink, and it will create a link with the name that is authority in this case, but still there is nothing. You need to verify that, but this part, that is the authority, have been created a link. Now we are going to the target site in order to see if this link is work or alert or pop-up or not. So in that case it is also mandatory to see that, and you are required to manually investigate, because it is not going to work or show you in the render tab. Alright, there is nothing, still nothing, but we can see this is link and it has been created, and just clicking over it will pop up with the number 9, that is the payload that was actually inside the payload to be alerted. So this is exactly what happens at this time, and this is the guest book. Now suppose if this is the real one, if I have added the payload to attack and grab the cookies from the target users, then what we'll do, every user is, if he is going to, or in case if the admin is going to click that what is inside this thread, then what will happen, we can also grab the cookies and take control of the administrator panel. And it happens when you are going to test for, you will also be finding the same issues, but this requires a lot more attention and the focus over that, how you actually work. And in most of the cases you are going to require Burp collaborator, that is not the part of this course, that is not exactly in Burp Suite Community Edition. This is available inside the Burp Suite Professional Edition, but that is out of part of this course, so I'm not going to discuss more about that. Moving back to our target, and let me show you something more. Like here still we have nothings. We can see every link that have been created will be alerted for pop-up. In most of the cases you are going to trim all of these part, that the script alert script, because these are the simple attack payloads that will be filtered out by the way applications. So this is just for the demonstrations. We are required to filter out and check every options, every payloads that you have delivered to the target site and got the response, received the response. In some of the cases, like the payloads that will create a link, or even if it not creates a link, it is going to alert you when a certain actions or the functions is triggered in the JavaScript. And here it is like JavaScript onload. Let me check it manually, that what is inside there and if it is successful or not. Alright, if this is loaded, because this site is loaded, this will be alerted, and this means that it has been popped out. We need to manually investigate. But as we are working on the vulnerable, intentionally vulnerable web application, that might not be always the same case for the real world applications. You will have different experience with real applications or the web applications you are going to test for, because all those applications that you are going to test will certainly be secured for somewhat, or if it is secured too hard, then you need to bypass the filters too. And filter bypass, actually how it works, let's see in our payloads, like if this payload was or something, first payload we need to see. Alright, we can see this payload created nothing, but let me check it manually if it works, because in most of the cases it is not going to work. Alright, so it is also working. What happens in a filter that filters out? It is going to stripe all of the part, like the script, alert, and all of the special tags or the HTML tags that is secured by the HTML entities in the PHP. So this is for just using the case for the cross-site scripting. Now let's test for the same attack positions with the different file, that is the SQL injection. So in this case, if there is something SQL injection, let me start the attack, and we might see some of the different, like this is going to alert with some of the specific payload, but this is simple payload that is mostly going to be failed. But this is also to mention that not all of the web applications are going to be filtered out all these payloads. These are really special, because if it is there is no security over the target site, it is going to be attacked or not going to be filtered out by this of these payloads. Actually, I'm going to show you the payloads that I use. It is the payload from the GitHub, and that is, I had uploaded some times ago, XSS custom payload. We can see. Alright, so here it is, the XSS payload that I had added somewhat 4 years ago. You can go for, and exactly that is the same code that I had put it out here. You can check for, and this code exactly works. So this is outdated by 4 years, but still it is valuable that you might work upon. So you can collect it from there, like going to GitHub page and this URL. Alright, so moving back, we can see if the responses are from the SQL injections. But in most of the cases, this is not actually injectable for the SQL because it varies. So we have already seen the cross-site scripting, that how it can be executed and how it is valuable for, and what are the configurations that we can make for in order to get best results, and to make something more clearer, create a best settings for that. We can also go to project options to miscellaneous and create the logging items that all of the loggings will be saved if you click for it. And as the Burp Suite Community Edition doesn't have any more information about how you can save all of the work done, so the logging is the option that you can do. And one another options that is also valuable, just select all of these items, Control A, and going to copy links in selected items, save selected items. It will be saved. If you want, you can paste 64 in code request and responses, or in this way we can save. If you want, you can save single tree or the single URL in this case. So just select it, all of the URLs and the 11 items created, we can see. As mentioned earlier, we can see filter out the parameters of any sites that we have. And if I am going to check for, we can see these parameters have the, let me stretch somewhat. there are the parameters. This is the guest book and have the parameters of name, text, and this is this taste, that is the search query, that actually the parameters. We can simply find out the parameters and send it directly from to here to intruder, like the here intruder, to repeater, or any other tools you want. If you want, you can only send the comparer to request here. I mean to request to comparer and response to the comparer, then compare both of the items one by one. Here we can see the first items start. We can compare by words and by bytes. Simply click by words. We can see the differences that it have created for, and we can see modified, deleted, added. So blue one are the added, I mean to say deleted, and yellow in color are added. So this is how easily beneficial for in some of the cases if you are going to test that if your earlier one attack was successful or not, or what was the difference. And this is also beneficial at the same time when you are going to test for if there is any new items or the new codings have been updated to the target for, or simply in simple words, if the target site have been updated or not, so that you can perform bug bounties, bug hunting again and again on the same pages. Alright, so this is all done. We can see all of the remove from scope here. We can see many options like the compare sitemap, site comments, highlights, and that's all for we have already seen whatsoever. And we can also re-enable, and it will not stop sending out of the scope proxy to the other HTTP history. So just enable it and it will send all of the items that is not in scope will also be go to HTTP proxy. This is the simple option that we can give it a trial and error in most of the cases. From now, any updates to the course or on demand of the users of this course, I will be going to update this course on demand of if there is something part that might be left. In most of the cases it happens. So if any of the lessons have been left and you think so it must be in this course, you can just let me know and I will be updating that too. But for what reason, somewhat reason, for bug hunters, all of the things that have been covered in this course are completely explained very well, and that is the reason it has been taking a lot more time for each lesson to be a longer one and a shorter one based on the explanations for each of the part. Because for newer users or the new users who are going to use Burp Suite for bug bounty hunting might find it somewhat difficult if it is not explained deeply. So if you're already known to this Burp Suite and you think that the explanation is too long, you might skip, or you might want to go to the next lessons depending on the what you want the extract from this course. Thank you for this course and all the best for your career in the future.